got a lobster, you got it back yet. Lobster's a 10 out, don't you grab it.
Yeah.
So, welcome to episode 13 of the Rambling Ranting Review Hour. I am finally in my new abode. Yeah! And Captain Crunch is being way too noisy, so is he going to get the hose again? We'll find out in a few minutes.
Please say yes.
Probably.
Please say yes and tell me I can watch.
You'll just have to have a photo. But today is a very special...
Garbage day.
Very special episode. So before we kick off the festivities, we are about to talk about one of the bright, shining stars of Shonen Jump, one of the great saviors of manga, the ones that we pinned all of our hope on, because to be an anime and manga fan, it comes with a lot of stigmas, and not for good reason. You know, for us, it's like, oh my god, there are these amazing sci-fi fantasy stories that nobody else is making. This stuff is incredible. But to the average person, it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ, why are there so many big titty PVC figurines? Oh, Jesus Christ, why do you keep on sexualizing 9-year-old girls? Oh, God, get this away from me, get this away from me, get this away from me. I hate it. But you're like, no,
How much filler
no.
can you possibly include in one fucking TV show?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, stigma that you're always fighting for to, you know, justify why it's great. And it always, oh my god, it's so amazing! You just have to remember it.
You know, on like a side note, you're welcome, folks. We're already like jumping off in a fucking side note. I feel like some of that's fucking deserved. I worked at fucking Diamond Comics, and I swear to God, it's like there is that guy, and there are a lot of that guys, and it is fucking terrifying. We had one in sales, and I swear to God, he had just, like, one fucking Glenn Quagmire figurine amidst a fucking host of, like, FAP statues. And it was the most uncomfortable thing imaginable to walk by his desk. And yes, his desk at work. It's not like these were just, like, hidden away in a closet.
It's
just,
on
like,
his work desk.
surrounded by old tissues or something. No, this was at his fucking work desk. It was horrifying. It's like made me shudder every time I went anywhere near him. So yeah. I feel like we deserve some of this shit. But, he's right.
We do. We absolutely do. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist, that it's the stereotype, you know, exists for a very good reason. But you look at these titles like, oh my god, look at Death Note, and oh, it's this incredible story, you know, this is something you can, you know, a conventional person, oh, look at Full Metal Alchemist, oh my god, these deep themes, transhumanism, see, there's always these series that, you know, you sort of point towards as like the shining hope, where it's like, I'm trying to think, like, you know how comics used to be incredibly stigmatized? It was like, oh, this is stupid shit for babies, but you'd be like, oh, look at the Watchmen's so great. It felt like Promised Neverland was one of those stories initially, at least for the first 37 chapters for the first major story arc.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I pinned a lot of hope on this shit.
And to its credit, we were always wondering, are they going to transform Emma into a tit ninja? Are they going to give them superpowers? And it ended without doing either of those things successfully.
Yeah.
But
fucking jazz hands.
The series managed to find very creative ways to disappoint us. So, we are here, my gentlemen, to breathe and put to rest Emma, Ray, and Norman. They were bright young stars.
Are you really trying to do?
Yeah, I'm doing a eulogy. I'm doing a fucking eulogy.
Stop that. They don't deserve the fucking eulogy. Just roll the fucking corpse in the trench and bulldoze over it. We're done.
Oh
Fuck
my
you.
god.
You don't want to give these bright shining stars that were showing another way that could have been. They're
You light a candle for these kind of kids, you know. It's just, that's all you could really do. Like that's as much as I could give for a eulogy.
Buy like a sticker or something at the grocery store. I don't fucking know.
So here's the question. Before we get into the thick of it, what did you name me like two or three nice things about the last few story arcs that we saw?
The art was really great. I mean, the artist is always just, it's amazing how well they can adapt such a shitty story and make the visuals like so interesting looking. It's pretty incredible.
I 100% agree with Greg about all of that.
Okay, I'm gonna give like two or nice things. I'm gonna say I like the Norman genocide arc, and I like the reveal that the demons were like these parasitic organisms, like the chimera ants, that took on the traits of other things that were near them.
Okay,
I guess.
Any other nice-ish things you want to say?
Damn.
No.
I
just...
I was so disappointed.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of nice shit I can say about this. It
I guess there was like some semblance of like something interesting happening with Isabella returning, but then, and I guess self-sacrificing her might have been interesting, and the kids still crying over her dead body, but I don't know. It still felt very like lackluster, and like I wasn't invested nearly as much as I could have been.
There are certain kinds of horror where the more you explain it, the less interesting it becomes. And I feel like this is a lot of Promised Neverland.
But there was
especially when you start humanizing the things whose entire purpose is to eat you. Like,
yeah,
I know I joked a lot, or like early in this fucking review stuff about like, what if we got a slice of life stuff about the demons? Like, just some fucking asshole who works at the factory and just comes home and it's like,
we sort of got that.
It's a beer. And then we got that. That was a thing we got.
So why did you hate?
And he raised a human like a fucking puppy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
and I know it's like, yeah, I want that. It's like, no, I really didn't. Like, I have found out that no one wants that. It is terrible, and you like. There are ways to humanize the antagonists and the monsters in your series well, and this just was not it. Like, especially since, ever since like some of the early arcs, it just felt like fucking Home Alone. It's like you took something that was genuinely terrifying and genuinely interesting, then turned it into Home Alone, and then fucking like you just see these fucking bumbling assholes just kind of like schlubbing around their daily job, eating the like I guess demon equivalent of McDonald's, and just, it's fucking embarrassing.
Well, I think there's a lot to dive into in terms of like how this series managed to disappoint. I'll see if I can try and give cliff notes, and feel free if you want to expand. I think the start of where everything went wrong was basically, and eventually I plan on making a video about this, is the decision to like have the demon world and the human world separate, because initially we're like, oh man, what's going on? Do these things come from a different dimension? Are they aliens that took over? You know, it says it's like 2040, implying that it's like a futuristic version of our world. What the hell happened? And the fact that it was like set in this fantasy world where demons, you know, by default, it makes the demons a lot less scary because there are a bunch of humans over there, and that at any point that they could come in with guns and missiles, and there's nothing to show us that guns and missiles are anything that could like stop the demons. And effectively, we saw children murder the demons with guns. So
yeah, it's like as soon as you get a bunch of 9-year-olds fucking red dawning this shit. Yeah. It's like, okay, great. Fucking Wolverines, fantastic. You've got a fucking pack of 9-year-olds wrecking everybody's shit. And are you really telling me that there's just like a squad of like angry fucking like Navy SEALs or something couldn't just like wreck the ever-loving shit out of everybody here?
Yeah.
And it's just like, not even that. It's just like, hey. You know what a Predator drone is?
This is
fuck you.
By doing this way, like it also comes with like a too, I guess it's a too contrived device for the kids to find a way to like escape the demon problem.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So here's my problem, at least maybe my take on this. So I'm actually okay with the demon world and our world sort of coexisting a little bit. That could have been interesting. The problem was it became very, very apparent that the demons posed no real threat to our world. They're like, if they actually managed to crack open that seal and let the demons back in, it just would have been like, yeah, it would have been bad, but it would have been like Jurassic Park bad, where it's like, oh no, like bad things have happened. And then we just wrecked everyone's shit, and everyone just kind of looks like, okay, well, I guess this is the new 9/11, but there are no fucking demons left, so we're done. Like, it would have been horrible for a very short window of time. So I feel like if you really wanted to have this two-world scenario, what we really needed to see is the fact that the demons were still a threat. And
maybe they had
come from another... Maybe they come... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, like maybe they could have like a counter to like nukes or something like that. No, like they had their own nukes or something.
Yeah. Like they... More specifically... It's like the Combine. Like they come from another dimension, and they are so fucking overpowered that they basically approached us and went, hey, if you don't want us to come in and wreck your shit, give us stuff. And by stuff, I mean children. We're going to eat them.
Okay.
And so basically it's like paying off like the fucking Vikings in the medieval times. It's like, here's your tribute, but instead of gold, it's basically people. It's like we basically give them people. We basically help run these programs so that they don't come into our world and just trash everything.
Interesting.
That they have some sort of threat, and they keep on giving them like a thing of cattle children, and that makes the Rarity clan have this dark secret that they don't want to tell. Because that was another thing that really pissed me off. Like, in a better story, like the big reveal that that the clan betrayed their friends and then gave them to be basically forced to be like, rape each other so they could make cattle children. It is like kind of like Berserk, but 10 times more fucked up. But because
they did it in like a PG kind of way.
Almost
because it sucks.
Not only did they do it in a PG-13 kind of way, there was like no build-up, so it's just like a bunch of character designs who look like characters I know to show that they're the descendants, so it has no freaking weight whatsoever. It's just a complete waste. You're not a good enough storyteller to sell these characters in one chapter. To like make this feel, because like there's part of me is thinking like on a surface level this should be like one of the most effed up things I've ever read, but you're right.
Yeah. Like, but instead it just felt contrived and boring.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of manga where, even manga I like, where I have to wonder exactly how much the frantic pace of the manga like Shonen Jump cycle is responsible for some of the really crappy decisions that are made. Like, I would be interested in seeing where this would have gone if he was allowed to develop at his own pace.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Like, the first, like, even if at his own pace meant, say, the first 2 story arcs, and then we got a third and a downer ending, and that was the end of the series. Instead of being like pushed to keep making more stuff because it got popular and making bad storytelling decisions because fuck, we need to get a chapter out, we have a week.
Yeah, it definitely felt like I remember reading somewhere that like this was one of the very rare proposals where like the first thing was like really detailed outline, which was obviously the first story arc. But then after that was all out the gate, it did not feel as tightly. It's like the beginning with had all the great Death Note mind games. Oh, we got the rope.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With the rope and all these like great details versus like the Goldie Pond arc where it's just like I was like, all right, I'm on board. This sounds like a great, most dangerous game. The kids are gonna go fight the rich royal demons. We're gonna get all these like great predator mind, and they pretty much just like shot at them with bullet guns. And there was like no.
Yeah. And it was like Home Alone, but every now and then the kids got beat up a little bit.
A little bit. They got a little scarred, but like nobody ever really got hurt enough.
Some of the artwork was gruesome, but like the kids like they didn't die. Like you just like they were badly wounded. Like even the artwork as great as it was, like you could have had the kids die and killed off. Like, I mean, maybe that's something the author didn't want to do. Maybe it's just like too gruesome for.
Screw you! You had that the like one saving grace was that like one arc with the extermination squad when he like shows him butting like a little child, and I was like, yeah, you got your teeth back for like 2 seconds.
Okay, you know what? I have to say something else too. Is I feel like we ended up seeing the demons way too much.
Interesting.
Because think about this. The first arc, we barely saw the demons, and when we did, it was kind of an emotional punch to the gut of like, what the fuck is going on here, and why is this happening? But we don't know. And when they showed up, it was always creepy and horrifying, but it also served to kind of underscore the point of, yes, the demons are bad, but in the first arc, the real threat, the real problems that you had to contend with were the people willingly selling themselves to these things for their survival. So, like, it was never...
befriending like introducing characters like Music, Sanju, that was like...
What would have been interesting is once they'd escaped, if they kept running into people,
yes,
and the ways they served these demons, and what they were willing to do to ensure their own survival, and just like instead of like, oh no, it's Goldie Pond, like if they'd run into people who were like willingly trying to trap the few remaining wild humans so that they can sell them to the nobility. And we never really see the nobility. Like every once in a while we'll get like a shot of like the estate and like these monsters in the estate like just like ripping a child apart and eating them or something. And just like the real threat is these people who are just sitting there watching this and being like, this is fine because I get to live.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to like Isabella, but like it's just more it's more examples of people who are, under the will of demons just to build up the threat of demons, I guess.
Well, it makes them more threatening and, because that was like a big problem. Like just having the human world, it makes the demons innately less threatening. I think the world building should have been the demons have taken over, then it makes it more bleak. And another thing that like I think a fundamental flaw in terms of just this sort of conception of the Promised Neverland was the fact that like, have you guys ever heard of Hope Punk?
Hope
No.
Punk?
So Hope Punk is like this sort of, it doesn't quite exist, but it's like starting to brim where like it's less defined than steampunk, but it's this sort of aesthetic where the idea is that like it's kind of like apocalyptic but like more colorful and hopeful, and the idea is that like things are bad but we can overcome it through our goodwill of progress. So have either of you ever seen Battle Angel Alita?
Yes. I saw the anime OVA.
Well, did you ever see the James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez most recent movie?
No.
It's a pretty shitty fucking movie, but it has this sort of hope punk aesthetic. I don't know if it was intentional. I think it was more accidental. Because, like, the whole point is it's a post-apocalyptic future. They're supposed to live in this awful slum where cyborgs are everywhere and they prey upon the people. But, like, go just look Battle Angel Alita City, and you'll see, like, oh, it's actually really brightly lit. They've got all these multicultural people around. They're like, having drums, having, like, cookouts. It actually looks like kind of like a fun, nice place to be. That's the kind of hope punk aesthetic. And like I said, hope punk is like such a nascent genre, or I don't even know if I'm using that word right, but like it is so ephemeral in terms of like there are no like defined rules like steampunk. There's very few things that are like hope punk. It's more of like something that says, yeah, this is part of the hope punk movement. And Promised Neverland, whether it was intentional or not, sort of became hope punk, where it's like, yeah, there's these systems that are oppressing the humans and the demons, and we just hope hard enough and we can make it better for everyone, yeah! Which is not why we liked the series. The whole point of what made it work initially is it was Emma's unbound optimism compared with like the really brutal, crushing reality of the unfair situation she was in. And if you don't have that bitterness, then the sweetness is just overwhelming, sickly, and it's like,
oh, it's just fucking saccharine. Oh god,
oh yeah,
I was just so fucking tired of her like jerking it. Like, I don't want to kill the demons. Now I must cry, and everyone just kind of like shrugs, nods, and goes along with it. It's like they've been eating you for thousands of years. You might want to do something about that.
Not to mention the fact that like we only saw two of them, two like nice ones, and they were like effectively living in their own little fucking forest. So like getting rid of all the other ones would like leave them just fine.
Yeah. I fucking so fucking sick and fucking tired of her just going like, no, it's okay. We don't have to kill them. They're literally using you as food. As soon as an entire species is just like, okay, you're cattle. It's okay to fucking kick their ass.
Versus the sort of hope.
It would literally be like if fucking sheep like suddenly gained like a human level of sentience and looked around and went, but I don't want to kill the humans. Like, fucking why? Fuck. Where are my testicles, Summer? Where are my testicles?
You imagine if there are two dimensions for sheep and people.
Like, Jesus Christ.
That'd be pretty convenient for sheep, wouldn't it? Like they were able to escape into that other dimension. Like, God, it's like way too fucking convenient and contrived of a solution.
That also brings up another really good point. Two other things I want to get into is the fact that like they kept on throwing all these like morally gray, hard choices, but then would always find the most contrived bullshit solution to like easily get out of it.
You fucking saw the factory farms. Literally people chained to benches, fucking lobotomized to being force-fed like foie gras. God knows I probably did, like, mispronounced that, but I don't fucking care. But it's just like, you look at that and like, oh, but I don't want to kill them. That would be bad.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to point you back at the factories and just be like, oh, maybe this is a fucking problem?
Oh, and every time there's like a contrived solution. Oh, the demons can only maintain their sentience by eating humans. Oh, well, there's magic blood, and everyone drinks the magic blood, and it's great. You're fine if you drink the magic blood. It completely gets rid of it, which is like the worst storytelling device. You want to know why it's the worst storytelling device? Alex Kurtzman and Robert Orsi, two of the laziest hacks in Hollywood, use it for all of their shitty blockbusters. Spider-Man 2. You gotta get Spider-Man's magic blood to heal the Green Goblin. You gotta get that Spider-Man blood. It's important to have that Spider-Man blood. Star Trek Into Darkness. You need Khan's blood. You need that magic blood to save Kirk from dying, because his blood is so great, it makes everyone fucking immortal. Just get that magic blood. Magic blood does wonders for everyone.
Yeah. It's just fucking contrived, and I'm just so fucking done. Yeah, and as soon as you introduced Musica, it's just like, okay, great, fantastic. Demons aren't scary anymore. Nothing is scary anymore. This is fucking stupid. And well, okay, actually,
there's also there is more stuff. There is more negative stuff I could even go on beyond this contrived nature of the story. I also want to bring up as well, because I think we did mention this before in some of our earlier conversations. Like, these are kind of like very one note, like boring characters as well. Like, they don't really develop like throughout the series. It's just kind of like Emma's always up and positive and cheery. Ray was like the negative, like realist. But later on, like, he's just like, okay, maybe Emma's right, and he didn't develop from there afterwards.
Oh yeah, once Norman was like booted out, the flaws in the character writing were like shown exponentially. Like, Emma's optimism gets really boring really fucking quickly if she's not like, hammered with the sense of failure.
Right.
Ray, once Norman's gone, Ray can't be as cynical anymore. So he basically has nothing to do. There's like no reason to fucking have him there. He's just kind of like there. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And Norman kind of became interesting, but then
he was like the balancing act between Ray and Emma in a way when he was there.
It could have been interesting if once Norman was gone and they'd escaped, that they're confronted with this, horrible, bleak landscape crap, and just like all of the stuff they have to do to survive, and it is just a constant tug of war without this mitigating influence of Ray, who is this ruthless pragmatist, and Emma, who is just uncompromisingly optimistic, and the kind of fights and the sort of strain that would put on their relationship.
Yeah, you could probably...
That could have been interesting.
You could have done some really interesting Lord of the Flies stuff when they're in the shelter, but of course the shelter, like, solves all their goddamn problems that they can have, like, musicals and, farm vegetables, and they don't have any issues with resources or risks. It's just, like, the perfect... Yeah. The perfect thing where there's, like, no interesting problems.
Yeah, like, even if it was, like even if it was just like like if there had been that kind of dynamic where Ray is just like, we do not have the food to save everyone. Pick the people you like, we can save them. If you don't, we all die. And Eva just comes up with like these incredibly dangerous plans to just try and to like fix this stuff and make sure no one dies. Maybe it works. Maybe it works, but it like kills 5 or 6 people, and she has to like deal with the fact that her plan worked, but she still got some of her friends killed. And maybe it's like, and maybe Ray just goes like, "Hey, look, congratulations, it worked, but I told you couldn't save everyone, and honestly, we're lucky with the number of people you took. You might have killed more people than I told you would have to die in the first place. So good, it worked, but
maybe
next time we might not be this lucky."
Maybe we have a scene where Emma like snaps, like she like unleashes this, like all her positive energy in this like violent demon world. Like he finally breaks her, and she like lashes out and like tries to beat the shit out of Ray or Hilda or something like that.
I would have loved to have seen that.
And then they finally and then all the kids are like watching and crying, like, Emma, please stop. And Emma's just like, why can't you be more positive? Why can't you be like that would be pretty fun, I think.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah, definitely the poor character writing really, really became apparent, because I'm like, outside of the core trio, I can't think of like any distinctive people. Like, are there any? Like,
it just all blends into this like sea of obnoxious smiling children that I don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
Oh, and one dude with a bag on his head.
Well, don't forget about the man with no name, and what was his name? I forget. Yashi, Yujiro, Yuri. Why can I not remember that name?
Because they aren't important. Because literally, they have nothing to lend themselves to being remembered. Incidentally, I just want to point out that I know you mentioned at one point that you were happy that despite all the shit, despite everything that happened, that we never gave the children superpowers. We never turned it into a battle manga. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't want it to turn into a battle manga. We wanted them to come up with creative writing decisions.
Battle manga. We still wanted them to be human normal.
Yeah. Remember the people who were subject to the special experiments that had superpowers?
Oh yeah. Oh my God!
The William Minerva animated squad.
Shit.
Like, no, Emma never got superpowers, but they sure did include a fucking fucking shonen hit squad.
They really, you know what? That might actually have saved the series if they did actually introduce superpowers earlier on. Honestly,
no,
like really
make Emma and Ray like master some kind of like demon martial arts or something like that.
Fuck you, Greg. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. Eat my fucking ass. The only way I would accept superpowers in this series, the only way, is if there was some sort of Lovecraftian consequence. Like, you can figure out how to do like bluff fucking demon magic or some shit, or like figure out how some of the demon technology works, and maybe it works off of like cybernetics or something. But every time you do it, it just like fucks with you unmercifully. It's like stretches the constraints of your thoughts.
So some sort of horrible, like, lasting consequence is what you would have liked to have seen.
Yeah. It's maybe one of the kids figures out how to do it, and it just drives them insane.
Well, another
about something with like the blood flower or something like that.
Yeah. It just like sure.
Blood and the energy will explode when you
can transcend. You can transcend human limitations, but there are severe consequences for doing it.
Yeah, that would have been like an acceptable premise. Well, another interesting thing is how the series kind of straddled the line between like fantasy and sci-fi, mostly led towards sci-fi, but occasionally had some fantasy with like the 7 walls to the other dimension, and then we have to go to see Tefari. And what did you guys think of that whole, like, we got to go to the 7 walls, and they had that whole weird dream sequence with the cube and the other stuff? Did you enjoy that, or did you feel like it was like inconsistent and the series could not like settle on what sort of aesthetic it wanted to keep?
I will be honest, I just slogged through this for you, just for you. Like I was done just so many chapters ago. I was done at fucking Goldie Pond.
Yeah.
Did this for you.
What about the incredible, the time jump? Everyone's the world's most bullshit
the
time
year and
jump.
a half time jump. Like barely
God,
anything happened.
ever since fucking Naruto, everything needs a fucking time jump. And I'm so fucking tired of the fucking shonen time jump.
I like time jumps, but I think you kind of have to earn them a little bit more. You gotta build it up.
Yeah.
You gotta, like, it was not a good there was literally no reason to have a time jump except for the fact that, like, all successful series have the time jump, so you gotta put the time jump in.
Oh God, yeah. Can I also point out? Oh God, what the fuck was the weird little god monster?
Oh,
Does it have a name?
Sorry, or Jupiter.
Him.
Whatever the fuck that stupid thing was.
I was looking up some characters online for Promised Neverland before starting it. I think I saw someone in the Wikipedia. It's like him. But, in the manga, it's like gobbledygook alien language.
Which, once again, leads into 2 fucking things. One, I know this started as a horror manga, and that lasted, like 5 seconds, but holy shit, that thing looks like a fucking anime mascot, and I hate it. Like, Jesus Christ, that thing is, like, this is your god. It's supposed to be like awe-inspiring, and it just fucking looks
it's like a whimsical little kid.
It.
It's like a whimsical little demon kid that's infinite years old.
Which also bleeds into my other fucking problems. As soon as you heard the demons speak, and it wasn't in their own like fucking Lovecraftian language, it just like wrecked the mythos and the mystique even more.
So basically, all these problems stand up back to Musica and Sanju's introduction, and then introducing like the big secret behind the demon world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
oh man,
that was like well, an interesting thing I was kind of like, because like a lot of the same themes is like comparing whatchamacallit, how would you say it compared to the Chimera Ant arc, since you've both been watching the Hunter x Hunter 2011 anime?
Oh my
you've
God.
both been enjoying it. It covers a lot of the same material where it's like, oh, it's the humans versus this new species of super monster. But the Chimera Ant arc, as far as I'm concerned, did everything a lot better.
So much better.
Yeah. That's interesting comparison.
Because, think about it. Like, the Chimera Ants want to enslave the humans. They eat humans. It's, like, what made them smart. They took on the characteristics of humans. That's what kind of, like, made them evolve to the point where, like, they pursued men to get superpowers.
And they were more readily able to kill humans, like, in that manga and anime as well. So, just I think
so go ahead.
The fact that they were so quickly able to adapt to human threats and like human sort of oh my God, human Nen users. That was like one of the scariest things about the Chimera Ants, most threatening things about the Chimera Ants, where we didn't see anything like that of the sort from these demons. We didn't see like how these demons would have fared against humans that were antagonistic against them. Uh, like let's say a squad of gun wielding humans came to this demon world. Like, what would the demons do that would make them like overpower those humans with guns or drone strikes, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the Chimera ants were shown to be an actual threat. And more importantly, did not get home alone at any fucking point in the series. The closest we got was when Cheetu got one-shotted by the fucking Zoldikes.
Yeah.
And even that was more a commentary on how fucking badass the Zoldikes were.
And how stupid Cheetah was.
Yeah. I mean, he was never set up to be a really big threat. But most of the Chimera ants were treated as a terrifying threat and followed up on that.
And they evolved super quickly. They were a brand new enemy that just kept on evolving super quickly, sometimes stumbling through evolution. Like Cheetah, for example. Like, you see Cheetah, he's like almost like got like a serious threatening power, but he's just not that smart compared to other Chimera ants. So there's always going to be like a few duds here and there when you're coming with like certain threatening characters or threatening species.
Here's another interesting kind of question. I'm kind of want to wonder, because it seems like when a few of the Chimera ants like broke rank and became good, you were much more accepting of that versus like when, you know, Musica and Songju. So what worked better about like the good Chimera ants for you versus Songju and Musica and the factory demon who raised the dog girl?
Okay, so for me at least, it kind of works like this. One, the Chimera ants, on some level, during their evolution, were people or have somehow Nen memory bullshit, whatever. So it wasn't that they turned good; it's that they recovered memories of who they were and started acting like people again.
That's an interesting.
Yes.
So once that happened, and once they started doing that, it'd be like, you know, I guess, imagine a werewolf rampaging all over the place, killing a whole fuck ton of people, and then eventually recovering memories of, I don't know, being Steve the car salesman. And at some point, he's like, "Oh my god, I had children. Oh my god, I ate at Denny's this one time," and then I don't know, 2 months later, you see a giant wolf monster selling shoes and eating at fucking Denny's, and you're like, "Okay, no, I can accept that. He somehow got his fucking memories back. It's fine."
Gyro's my true king. Oh my god, what am I doing? Following the werewolf king. Gyro's my true king.
Like that would be fine. That would be fine. Like, I could accept that. But with these demons, like, first of all, you don't get a sense that they should be human. And even if they are human, even if they have something that would be considered as human emotion, their entire existence is still predicated on eating people. The Chimera ants can stop eating people. They don't have to eat people. And that's part of the reason, like, once they recover their memories, usually the desire to continue eating people kind of drifts away. At least for some of them. The ones we care about. The ones that, you know, don't die horribly. And the other thing is the Chimera ants, all of the Chimera ants are still treated as a threat. Regardless of what is happening, regardless of what stage that they are on their, like, recovering human memory and emotion bullshit. They're always treated as a threat. And after a certain point, the demons just aren't, you know?
But what about the incredible arc where they fight the demon queen, and then they can't think of a good reason for her to die, for them to beat her, and then she just dies because she ate too much.
Oh my god. That's my response to that.
No, I have no emotional like attachment to the queen dying. I my emotional attachment is like mostly tied with like, God, is this series gonna end finally? It's like after like dealing with the queen, I'm like thinking, oh my God, finally the culmination of everything it's gonna finally happen after they kill the queen. But it still goes on like maybe 20 more.
Oh my god, yeah. That was like the weirdest thing where it was like obviously that they were like rushing between like how can we end this as soon as possible? Let's keep on stretching it out. They just kept on coming up with more and more contrived bullshit, even though like pretty much the arc of the story was over.
The other problem for me, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, you go ahead.
So the other problem for me was you can choose the tone that you have for a story. But it is hard to move away from certain tones and certain themes once you have them. You can start as a horror movie or a horror story or something, and once you've chosen that thing to do, it is difficult to move from that to less threatening. Because once you start at that level, at that point, say when they were trying to escape and everything was scary and bad and terrible, and you were genuinely worried about what was going to happen to these people and what the hell was going on, and then they get out and the threat level drops, it's hard to maintain your stakes. It's hard to maintain your kind of investment in this story, because you're always looking back up here and going, man, that was terrifying. That was a problem. Like, you know, wondering what's going to happen to Norman, watching children being put in trucks and these flower things being stabbed into them, all this shit going on. You know, are they going to being able to escape from Mama? And then you get to like Goldie Pond, and you have a bunch of 9-year-olds just fucking gunning down somebody in a fight, and just basically standing over somebody and just shooting them repeatedly. Like, it's hard to recover that investment once you lose it.
Kind of curious, like, could they have like shifted the threat from demons to something else?
Well, no. I mean,
don't
they
think
kind
it would
of
have worked well.
Tried to do it with like towards the end where it's like it's Peter Rarity and the Rarity Clan. Well,
Yeah,
here's another thing in terms of
that was sad, disappointing.
Here's another kind of like Chimera Ant versus Promised Neverland comparison. I'm kind of curious, and they both had similar themes about man's inhumanity towards man. Where like one of I think our potentially favorite moments of the Chimera Ant arc is where Netero sticks his finger in his chest and nukes the kid. And it feels completely earned. And then the Promised Neverland has like the man's humanity to man, where it's like, oh well, these demons they've just inherited the innate cruelty because they eat humans. This is the dark side of man. They create social strata, nobles who control people, and we just need to learn to understand coronavirus.
Dumb.
So
where did the coronavirus thing come in? That
towards the end, there was some really stupid montage. They were talking about injustice, and then they showed real world injustice, and they had like coronavirus like scrawled in graffiti, and it was just really, really fucking stupid for a lot of reasons. It was like obnoxious, preachy, and also like technically the Promised Neverland is supposed to be its own fucking sci-fi world that's like completely separate from our own, so it shouldn't have our stupid historical events.
I mean, yeah, I could see that, but it's just
but why does that work so well? The darkness of man with Netero and the bomb versus ooh, man so dark because the demons inherited all the worst aspects of mankind.
I feel like part of it is, all right, I guess back to like the stakes bullshit I was talking about, is you can start up here with horror, and then once you start dipping down, like your stakes start dropping and all this other shit happens, there's really not a way to recover that. You can make that a joke. You can basically start with something scary, intense, and then all the horror drains out of it quickly, and then our interest pumps back up if we find out that that was a joke. If it's not a joke, then it basically wrecks anything you're trying to do. With Hunter x Hunter, on the other hand, you're taking something that was shonen. It was basically, it's a shonen series. It's kind of a battle series. Kind of has some other shit. It's whatever the fuck Tagashi wants it to be on a weekly basis. I don't fucking know what the man does. He's a fucking genius. I don't fucking know. But
it's mainly a battle series that under the guise of like doing whatever Tagashi's interested in that week.
Yeah, and that's why we're willing to go with this. It's like, oh, this is like a weird heist bullshit thing. Cool. This is about video games. I'll take that.
He's already built up so much goodwill with the readers.
And the thing is, the series didn't start as a horror series.
That's really
and so
interesting.
When we start injecting horror elements into essentially standard shonen running practices, we're willing to go with it. We're willing to like just nod and watch what happens, because that ramps our tension back up. And since he keeps that tension going, because I mean, even at the end of things, even when Netero just like human spite jams a fucking finger into his heart to kill himself, we know the stakes are, if the king survives, he wipes out the human race except for a small breeding stock. That horror is still there. Even in the midst of this shonen battle manga, we're still sold on the stakes of exactly all the bad shit that we have seen happen on a small scale. Like, we have trees full of like human bodies just kind of webbed in there. Yeah. So we know exactly all the bad shit that will happen. And so we're sold on this.
And how easily he took over a country, basically.
Yeah. So we're basically just sold on the bad stuff that's going to happen. We're sold on the horror elements that never really go away, even as some of the Chimera Ants change back, even as we get comedy moments and everything else. We're still sold on this because we weren't given a horror premise and then told, oh, but it's not really that bad. We are given a shonen premise and told, oh, hey, for this arc, it's going to get dark and creepy.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, and I agree with you 100%. That, like, walking back from the horror element, like, the more, like, sort of shonen contrivances you have, the more just, like, feels like weak sauce, stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could have made Promised Neverland start more shonen, or start in a different...
I don't think... I think it's just a matter of, like, keeping that horror aesthetic. That, like, the demons need to be a threat. They need to be a credible threat. And, if you are going to do this dual world split, then you need to introduce some sort of element that, like, this is why the humans want to stay the fuck away from the demons, versus, we could just kill them all with flamethrowers. Like, maybe the demons have, like, some sort of parasitic element that they, like, latch on to humans and they start infesting and turn them into zombies or whatever.
Yeah, you can't start with, I don't fucking know. Just pick any, fuck it. You can't start with Mike Myers killing a whole bunch of people for 15 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is about one of the survivors going to therapy and learning to love again. That doesn't work unless, as I mentioned before, you turn it into a comedy. Then it works. But if you try and do that straight, it doesn't fucking work. Because you're just sitting there going, wait, so what happened to the masked fucking lunatic and the horror manga I was sold? It doesn't work that way.
It's interesting to bring it to our God and Savior, because, like, our beloved Chainsaw Man, one thing he's really, really good at is playing with tones. Whether it's like a more action-oriented scene, sort of like a horror scene or a comedy scene, he's really, really good at, like, playing with tones and shifting the balance and having multiple emotions all in one scene. Versus, the Promised Neverland guy w's not very good at it and just, does it in the most basic bitch way. And it's interesting to compare how, like, the big moments in Chainsaw Man, especially with the stuff that happened more recently, goes really well because the character writing is so good that when the bad things happen to the people we like, it's like,
it's
no,
so fucking good.
Yeah.
I will say this: shonen is so much more flexible. Like your standard shonen premise is flexible. You can do all kinds of crazy ass shit because the shonen premise is really, really, I don't want to say bland, but I guess kind of amorphous and putty like. You can do anything you want with it, and we'll just go with it. Like, you can inject all kinds of different genre and anything else you want into it, and it still works.
It's like a grand, like, shonen is basically a grand adventure kind of story.
Yeah.
And you can throw in all kinds of themes in it, like, in the middle of that.
Yeah, in one arc you can be in a haunted house, and the next arc, after you deal with, like, the horrible, crazy, scary bullshit, beach adventure. And we're willing to accept it. Because at its heart, basically, the entire point of shonen is, hey, here's a bunch of fucking nerds you like. Watch them do shit.
Yeah, and you can, like, do it with, like, a slice of life. You could do it with high fantasy, high science fiction, and as Togashi has shown, it's versatile enough that you could, like, pretty much stuff any genre in there as long as you're a good enough writer who can, like, make the transition. But, Promised Neverland started as, like, a horror story, and then it morphed into this weird fucking hope punk, which was, like, not the thing we wanted to see. We wanted the demons to remain scary and threatening. We were not asking for them to be befriended.
Yeah, Greg, I guess to answer your question, at least for me, I think you're right. If they'd started at a more baseline shonen level, like, say they started with Isaac's Hope Punk, they could have built it to that horror, and kept that interest and kept things, because it's a matter of building things up towards a climax, towards something bad, and the more you learn, the worse it gets. So if your demon started out as kind of doopy and maybe scary, and maybe we can redeem them. I'm not sure. Maybe we started with Musica and everybody else. It's okay. it's bad, but it's not that bad. And then we get something like, oh, by the way, there are factory farms.
By the way,
that would actually be kind of interesting if if there's imagine let's go back to the first arc, and then somehow they move like a bookcase or something, and then they find Musica's like a junior technician, and she's like observing them, and she's like an assistant or whatever, and then Emma develops a relationship with her as like her connection to the outside world.
Yeah, and then they like they get to be maybe friends or something, and it's just like, okay, and then they manage to escape. And then a couple arcs in, you found out, oh, there are factory farms. And then you find out it's like, oh, Musical let you escape because it was basically the equivalent of like befriending a puppy. She still eats people. Do with that what you will.
Or like every now and then, there's some people who like befriends a chicken and they have like a chicken pet.
Yeah, or maybe it's that. It's just like, she was trying to befriend you. She didn't actually think you'd escape all the way. And even if you did, she was hoping you'd come back. Because, I mean, you're basically a walking sirloin.
It would have made it... it would have changed the story drastically.
Oh, it would have. Absolutely.
But I don't know if that would be...
It would have built a better foundation for the stuff that would come later. Because that's the problem, is that, it felt like it was going by the seat of its pants, where it was like trying to wrap things up. It knew it wasn't a story that could go on forever, but apparently it somehow became really successful in Japan. At one point, it was selling 7 million copies a year. It was the top 3 best. I don't know how either, but it was selling.
Fuck you, Japan. Fuck you.
Probably.
So they were kind of trying to end it, but also hey, maybe we can get another arc out of this Peter Rarity guy. And probably one of my least favorite things was when Peter kills himself and then he says the code blue, and it's okay, are you trying to set up another arc here? What the fuck are you doing with this? And he's like, wait till you see what happens when you get to the human world. Ooh. And then they get to the human world, and then this guy just comes on like a glider. He says, yes, I got your message. Everything's okay.
Nothing ever came of that. Thank God.
It was like they were testing the waters to see maybe we can get a human world arc. Let's see. Fuck, we got nothing. Let's just end it and take our victory lap.
Yeah. I don't think I would have appreciated the story more if they started in. If you started with your suggestion, Isaac, with Emma befriending Musica or whatever, I think the real selling point of the story was definitely the beginning story arcs. If we could build that story based on that, I guess that would be the best way. But it is an interesting thought. It is a really interesting thought. And I was kind of thinking now, how would you consider Death Note to be a horror story? It started off kind of like a horror story in a way.
It had horror elements, but I wouldn't call it a horror story. I'd still say it's still a psychological thriller.
I'd call it suspense.
Yeah,
I always thought Promised Neverland was very similar to Death Note in a lot of ways. There was this very psychological kind of thrilling aspect to it, where the mind games between Isabella and the kids, that was pretty.
But I guess the difference between Death Note and the problem. I mean, you're right. From a surface level, it was all about those fun mind games. Who thinks they know whatever, and then Mama knows exactly what they're planning, and she breaks Emma's leg. Ooh, that was a great scene. But the thing is that the threat of the horror element was omnipotent or omnipresent in Promised Neverland. It was always threatening to crash in. It was a question of when do these kids get out of safety, and when's this horror just going to come crashing down on them? Versus Death Note, where it was just sort of hey, I'm a Shinigami. I'm kind of scary, and these are kind of like scary things. But it was like, here's the Death Note, have at it. And then Ryuk himself is not threatening.
Yeah, you stop being threatening when you will do literally anything for a red delicious apple.
Well, Ryuk was the one who ended up killing Light at the very end. So he found it amusing that Light was using his Death Note, but then eventually he was planning to kill him anyway. It was like
his logic was that like, oh, it's gonna take forever for them to sentence Life to death. He's gonna die anyway. This is basically the end of your life. But like Ryuk was not threatening and everyone else with death. He wasn't like threatening. Light was the only character we ever saw him kill in the entire series.
But in kind of like an indirect way, he was in some respect, because he kind of like he was playing like sort of like the tempting devil, so to speak, right? Character. He's like, I have this weapon, and if I give it to a psychologically unstable kid who's really brilliant, he's going to use that to, enact his revenge on evil people and crime and stuff. He's going to create, this sort of.
But that was all. But that was the whole thing about Ryuk, though, is that he was kind of like he was. His charm came the fact that he was bored and he had nothing better to do. So that was the whole point. That like, oh, he's this scary looking character, but ultimately he's just kind of like this bored teenager who's just doing. He's kind of a troll. Oh, I'm gonna put my Death Note in the human world. Lols.
Yeah, but we didn't really like. We didn't find that like that hilarious. Like it wasn't like.
I think that was played for a lot of fucking laughs. The fact that he was addicted to apples.
Yeah.
Remember his first introduction to Light is like Light was. It was a pretty it's a pretty spooky moment. Like the demon, or sorry,
like from there on, Ryuk is never like really threatening though. He's not meant to be a threat. He's like a sidekick to pal around with Light.
But he's a mystery throughout the whole series. Like
that doesn't make him a fucking horror monster.
I mean, okay. No, it doesn't. But it's like there's this looming mystery about Shinigamis and like what's his whole game behind.
Yes, I will accept suspense. I will not accept horror.
Okay, fair.
I mean, I will say he's like a horror character design, but like no more than like the Nightmare Before Christmas characters are like.
Let me fucking put it this way, Greg. Near and fucking mellow.
Okay.
Yeah, there are elements of the supernatural, but most of the conflict in this fucking series, most of the conflict that goes on isn't really focused on the supernatural horror of being able to kill a man thousands of miles away by just writing his name down. There is no like great look at this psychological terror that this produces in society. There is no great look at like the like degenerating moral consequences. It's mostly just a game of cat and mouse. That is the conflict. It's how do I not get caught so I can keep killing people and laughing like a megalomaniacal sociopath in my fucking head.
There's a little bit of like the horrors of man, like towards the end of the series, where it's like they've like this sort of like gross. This is Kira's kingdom. All worship hail Kira, and they like try and form this like pseudo religion, but like it's very momentary, and it's not like a main focus. It's more of like a side thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It had some elements of horror, and I guess that was what also made me think of Death Note. But I think I would have liked if Promised Neverland kept with that a similar formula with Death Note, with just suspense, psychological kind of battles.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. And with that, they would have had to like use the demons a lot less or use them more smartly.
Yeah.
Because like I think that like you could have done a lot of like psychological battles in like the Goldie Pond. Like I would have loved to have seen like a more brutal fit game of cat and mouse between the demons and Emma. But like you know, it's like one of those things that like sounds good on paper, but is like a lot harder to execute in terms of like coming up with compelling beats where it's like the kids have a bear trap, but the demons smell humans, so they know about the bear trap. And then the demon's behind the kid, and he cuts him up, and then he's looking for another demon, or kid's looking for another kid, but the kid hides himself in mud because the demons have thermal vision, or blah, blah, blah. They're basically like a little bit of one-upsman in terms of like slowly giving information out from both sides. But it didn't have any of that. It was just sort of like, I'm gonna get you. I'm a scary demon. We've got guns.
Oh no, you hit Ray in the face, and the older guy who's got a crazy Michael Jackson glove in his hand, and now the crazy Michael Jackson glove guy is like fighting the Archduke, and the Archduke can catch bullets in his hands. And wow, he's like not a Vegeta, he's a Frieza of the whole Promised Neverland.
God, Lewis was like the biggest disappointment you could have. I love the premise.
Remember, of you and Scott were both so excited about Lewis as a character. It was like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be fucking awesome. Oh yeah, and that monkey character on his shoulder, so adorable. Oh yeah, just shows how badass he is.
That monkey is the fucking best. That monkey is the best character in this entire series.
Oh my god. And remember when Archduke Lewis shows up at the very end of the series, and he's like, "We gotta talk about this."
Well done. I mean, I'm just surprised one of the kids just didn't put a fucking round in his fucking head.
He shows up so conveniently. He's like, "Yes, I'm still alive," and being Queen Regalia's brother, I will tell you something that you, as a people, do not know. Musica's blood cures the disease of yes. I suddenly came to the realization that humans are good. Full of lead.
Everything is fine now. I might have an entire resort devoted entirely to fucking hunting down small children and eating them like a fucking bastard. But I see now.
It's almost as if like Jeffrey Epstein came back to life. I faked my old death, and now I'm devoting everything towards helping children.
Yeah, I guess this is like I was visited by 3 ghosts.
Yeah, Lewis coming back. Sorry, you were gonna say.
And then basically he's like, by the way, you should make Musica your queen now.
It was, yeah, that was probably like the top in terms of like how many terrible contrived choices can you have. It was like a contrivance cake with multiple layers of awful, stupid contrivance where it was like, oh, wait, he's back. He had a second core. Oh, he's going to save the day. Oh, he's also going to support Musica for president, even though like she has no qualification other than being Moe.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would kill to see Musica's like presidency, where she basically just like acts cute but has no fucking clue what she's doing, and just like just gets like taken advantage of just constantly. Like, I suppose I could sign this. Signs it like, okay, cool. Open the human factories back up.
Yeah. I child father of Gross says Epstein with the help of Kevin Spacey. I will save the kids.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that was like also like, what the fuck is this? She's just like the cutest. At least okay, you could like say the other one comes from like a political family. Maybe he knows something. Like is Musica gonna know about how proper taxation works, or is just everything's gonna be fine now? We established the royal system. Oh, I thought like you
economic downfall, Musica. How are we gonna solve the economic crisis in the demon world after human crops are abolished? Like, I don't know, hunter-gatherer society, like me and Sanju.
Everyone can drink my
blood. Have you guys considered like maybe like venison or something? I don't know.
I just hope everyone's really nice to each other.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, but that's another good question. Like, okay, so you've got all this like human meat. What happens to like all like the production facilities? Like, okay, imagine if we like suddenly outlawed pork. What the fuck do we do with like just the massive shipments of spam? Like, is there gonna be like a grace period where everyone just gets to like chow down on like all of the remaining human meat?
Yeah, why not? You can't let that go to waste. Like, Sanju would probably be like, yeah.
Jesus, now I'm just imagining that
if you want.
Now I'm just imagining that as things go on, like two things are going to happen. One, obviously, there's going to be a black market for people.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
And two, maybe one day we'll basically get like the demon equivalent of that fucking Futurama episode where Zoidberg flips his ever-loving shit over the last container of anchovies in existence.
I don't remember that episode that well, but it sounds really familiar.
It was a pretty amusing little bit thing there.
Was Richard Nixon in that one?
Richard Nixon in a lot of Futurama, but you can look it up after the stream.
Okay.
But, God, did the final chapter save the series for you, where it turns out Emma doesn't have to pay anything, but then she kind of does?
No.
I'm gonna take that as a no for you.
She forgot who her family was, but then the family went to the ends of the earth to find her in the very next chapter. So nothing was really lost. And she sort of regained her love for her family, even though she didn't remember them that well. Oh, it was...
All right, I found it here. I'm just like, I'm wondering if at some point in the distant future, this is basically going to happen with like the last can of like tinned baby.
My sponge. More.
There aren't any more, and there never will be.
More.
There aren't any more, and there never will be. Man,
Just
how tragic it must be for demons.
You want to hear something pretty interesting though that happened with the Promised Neverland writing team?
Oh,
they have a new one-shot out.
Oh fuck!
No.
Really?
Yep, I haven't read it myself, but it's Spirit Photographer Saburo Kono.
All right.
If they do a good first story arc, it might be interesting. But if they continue on after that, that might follow similar to the Promised Neverland.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if it gets a series or not.
I think the first story arc for Promised Neverland is worth reading, but after that is unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been great actually if they ended the series just off of running away from the plantation.
And that was just the end. That would have been like a really, really bold ending, and probably you could assume that that's the end, and then you'd be just perfectly happy.
Like the manga equivalent of The Mist.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like them like leading them through the forest, and like just a comment about like how they're not sure they're gonna find food for all of these children, and like Emma going, "It'll be okay," like and Ray being like, we may have to start picking who gets to survive," and I mean like everything will be fine, and then just like the fucking thing ends.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That would be freaking amazing. If only we could get that.
Oh man, if it just ended on the first arc, it would be a 10 out of 10 series. Like this would be like a 10 out of 10 beautiful series. I think.
Yeah, especially considering how it disappointed us in all the ways we did not expect it to disappoint us. Which, you know, A plus to that. You didn't go give them like, this is Reitai energy. This is how we fight the demons.
And they didn't over sexualize like any of the children characters or.
Okay. When you asked about good things about the manga, Greg is right. That is the best thing about this manga, and the only thing I will consistently give them credit for is that.
Yeah.
Greg wins. He gets like the most valuable player for the only good thing about this fucking series.
Well, it just wasn't necessary to sexualize them for the sake of a story like this. It's like this.
Well,
no.
Most of the time it isn't fucking necessary, but it still fucking happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's funny how many fucking wars are made over sexy anime girls. Have either of you heard of the war of Uzaki-chan?
Uzaki-chan?
Nope.
So there's this manga turned into an anime called Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. And then there's like a Twitter war raging over the fact that her boobs are too big.
What?
What?
I mean, just go look at it. There's all these stupid controversies over this like pretty dumb slice of life comedy series.
Uzaki. Oh, I think I know you were talking to me about this before.
What the fuck? What?
So is this an anime too?
I think it just started an anime pretty recently.
Oh god, and she even has like the little fang.
That shows she's quirky and high energy.
Amazing.
Well, I don't know. It's just maybe they wanted to have a character with big boobs, you know, and make it slice of life without being too over sexualized, I guess. Well, is it? Is it really? Yeah, I guess it is kind of. Yeah,
it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but you know, it's obvious. Like, you know, the fantasy is like, man, don't you wish you had an Uzaki-chan who was totally into you and would eventually learn to love you?
What is this about? Like,
it's just like a slice of life thing about
like romance drama.
Not even. It's like a comedy slice of life thing about like a girl who just wants to hang out with her like older classmate.
Okay.
But they're fighting fiercely over on those Twitters.
They don't like how big her boobs are? They just don't like how sexualized she is? Or
I'd have to like dig a little deeper, but I just know I always keep on seeing like videos and blah blah blah, always talking about the controversy, and I think it's like a funny hill to die on, which seems like the most innocuous thing to like just sort of not pay attention to. But Emma was always tasteful. Even the figurines are very tasteful. I was like just seeing if there were any, and there are, and they're all tasteful. So, you know, be nice. That is the series' greatest legacy.
Yeah. Well, it's always nice to have different types of stories being told, and not having like the same derivative thing like being done over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's why this series maybe sold so well in Japan, is that like it was so different than anything else that had come out from like mainstream manga. That it caught a lot of attention. Although obviously not quite as good as our Lord and Savior Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. Well, I have to catch up on Chainsaw Man actually.
I highly recommend getting those most recent chapters. So I think we've covered anything. Is there any other points in the manga that you two would like to talk about, or any other things that we did not go over? Zavil, I was always kind of curious to ask you, did Lord Gillen, did you like Lord Gillen and his revenge plot? I thought you would have loved the evil, the guy who literally wants to eat the rich.
I guess. I don't know. Look, I was just so fucking done by that point that I didn't care.
Not even Lord Gillen, because I did think he had a really cool character design with his whole like bug eyes. And
He did, but at that point I just wasn't scared of them. I didn't care. It was just like, oh, I guess this is happening. Just keep fucking clicking forward. Fuck you.
Was like almost interesting, and it was, you know, I'll admit it was a bit interesting at first, and then I was kind of wondering like why this sect of demons was like outcasted, and what his revenge story was. It seemed like he was just, you know, on the wrong side of the political island in the demon world, and seeing those flashbacks were somewhat interesting. But at a certain point, I just stopped caring because it was just like too convenient. Like you could see, like Lord Gillen was just basically a tool at the end. It was a tool for the story to progress, so that the kids could eventually have their final confrontation with the queen.
And Norman could like have all the heavy lifting in terms of like killing all the demons done by him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of sad.
I did have a little hope when Emma's like, "We're gonna help everybody," and then she gets to the capital. And Norman's pretty much like 3/4 of the way through his genocide.
Yeah.
And then
I
was like, yeah, Norman's still gonna kill everyone. But managed to fuck that up.
Yeah. I kind of wish the series had the balls to make Emma have a bad day, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, Emma have some really bad days for this series to really work.
She definitely needed that. That was probably like in the later half. Probably the best story arc was like the hit squad, just like wrecking Face. That was like the closest thing where it felt like the series like regained its teeth before completely losing them again. You remember the hit squad?
Yeah, the human hit squad.
Although the hit squad did bring the question of like, why are you guys still working with the demons? Why don't you just kill them all if you have a bunch of SWAT guys with machine guns?
I don't know. I guess they saw the children as less than humans too, and they just didn't really care.
Something
they didn't
along
really
those lines. So all right, so let's wrap this up. What are your final ratings for the series? What are your scores?
Fuck.
I was still able to read. I was still able to read it and enjoy the visuals, so that's something. I think the visuals were like in an 8 kind of category. So, but the story was like in a very, I think the story in the very first arc was like a 10, and then it went down to like a 2 or a 3. So if we do the math, I don't know what the math of that would be.
You don't have like some sort of like the final prognosis in terms of what you think it would sort of shoot up to be.
So let's see. If we do 10 plus 2 divided by 2, and then I would still give it like a 4 or 5, like maybe 5.
Okay, it sounds like a fair score. You really enjoyed the art, but you overall were just kind of like,
I was spectacularly disappointed by the story.
So, Zavil, what is your grade?
All right, so here's my problem. I want to give it a really low score, but I also know that there is worse shit out there, like Black Clover. So,
did you start reading the manga too?
No,
I read like 40 chapters of it a few years ago because I just started reading it to see. It's like, okay, and I was like, all right. Most shonen manga starts off really rocky. Let's see how this goes. Okay, I can get a check. I can if I can get an arc in. Usually, that's when it starts sucking less. So I started reading it, and I realized, oh my god, this is actually a decent premise, but literally all this is fucking weird fan service and shit jokes. And I just kept going because I wanted to see if it would get any better, and it just never fucking did. And I was just kind of like locked into this weird cycle where I just kept reading, and then finally after like 40 fucking chapters, like, okay, no, I can't do it anymore. I can't. So I literally know that there's stuff out there worse than this, but I also feel like I need to quantify my disappointment in some way. So I'm going to go with a solid 4.
Okay.
Because it started out really strong, and you feel like the disappointment sort of makes you angrier. It's always more frustrating to see something that you think is promising and great versus something that you knew was terrible to begin with, become something terrible versus something that you knew was kind of bad and just keep on being bad.
Yeah, you know what? This series, I'm sorry, 5 is too generous. You're absolutely right. It deserves a 4. It deserves at least at most a 4. It doesn't deserve like an okay rating. It was just it was just a 4. Like, God, the Archduke scene was so terrible. God fucking damn it. That was so awful. Awful way to end the fucking series.
You just had a renewed spurt of anger.
Yes, I did. I'm looking at the overlay I made, and Peter Rattiri's sad face is kind of like the epitome of how I feel about this series.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 4. It's a shame that like it started off so strong, but then just kind of like made worse and worse choices that just became less interesting, from like bland to just like bad and contrived, and just sort of like choices that like just made you feel like this is the worst, stupidest, lame thing you could choose. You have a billion options in the world, and you somehow managed to settle on the worst one, and it just kept on doing that consistently, again and again and again, becoming like this thing that like could single-handedly kill hope punk as a genre. But barely exists. But if I were ever to point at something that should never take on, never increase in the world, it's this fucking manga.
fuck?
Oh my god.
Which is somehow that sort of sense of betrayal is like there tends, if you start off as schlock, you expect schlock, but when you started out good, god damn it, it feels really, really disappointing. Especially when you compare it to like Chainsaw Man, where it's like, Chainsaw Man was going really strong in 37 chapters and has managed through some miracle thing to still keep going strong, even though it's like 81 chapters in. Although by that time we were in the middle of like Goldie Pond of Promised Neverland. And it just goes to show you like how far you can go with like great character writing. And the Promised Neverland had weak character writing, and that just problem got worse and worse as the series went on. And when it didn't have a tight plot, and giving these characters wins that didn't really deserve wins, and it was a shame. This was the chosen one. This was our chosen child. So
I would have given it like a worse rating if it wasn't for the art. Like the art really helps this series a lot. It's a very talented artist, and they were able to somewhat make some good out of terrible story. So very good props to the artists, whoever they are. I forgot their name. I think they have an ArtStation account somewhere out there.
Well, before we end this, though, speaking of artist-writer combos, have you guys heard about the Actade controversy?
What's that?
Oh, this is a really fucked up story, or really kind of amusing story. So Shonen Jump had this thing called Actage, which was like a manga that was like coming up. It was like a hot up and coming, and it was like interesting because
Oh god, you told me about this.
So basically, it was an up and coming manga. Its premise was about a girl who wants to become the greatest actress, and she's like, getting into the Japanese film industry and theater, and she's like rising up through it. And I haven't read it, but that premise alone made me interested because I'm always a sucker for stories about media and entertainment. But haven't gotten around to it. But now, what happened was the series was abruptly canceled, and you want to know why it was canceled, Goro?
I'm reading it right now. Act age creator arrested for indecent acts with underage ... Oh my god.
And you know what the most fucked up part is that there was an artist-writer duo. So you've got the like artist who's like his work is like being seen, and he's like it's on the cusp of getting an anime. Oh, sorry, it's canceled. You're done. You definitely give blank sensei your support, but oh god, poor guy. We're just completely fucked over by his like douchebag, horrible molester writer.
Oh man. That's really sad. It's unfortunate. And it was about to become an anime?
It was getting to that point. It was on lists of like, this is the manga that we want to see most adapted into an anime.
Wow.
So it was another sort of like off-kilter thing that was like becoming a bigger deal little by little. It was on that cusp. It was on that new generation that was going to lead the future forward in a one-piece-less future that'll come 5 to 7 years from now.
That sucks. Like, you see, like, all these creative people doing, like, these really horrible things to, it's kind of like this weird thing you see with, like, super successful creatives almost. Like, it's like, oh my god, what kind of deep, dark, like,
stupid bullshit are they doing?
Yeah, like what are they on? Are they on like some, are they doing some like R. Kelly stuff, or are they doing like, or are they like bipolar, like crazy kind of person?
Well, all right.
Or you fucking groping a middle schooler in between writing your fucking manga like a A sack of shit.
Well, here we go. Here's like here's a fucked up shonen manga, alternative manga pitch. So there's this guy, and he's just mediocre at everything. But he wants to be creative, but he can't draw, he can't write, he can't act, he can't sing. But then, not Ryuk, the demon muse of creativity comes for him, and he says, I can help you do whatever you want.
Oh my
God. For the amount of talent you get, you will inherit either a psychosis or a massive disability. What are you willing to pay for this? So it's like this Faustian bargain where he can accept certain amounts of talent for something, but depending on how much talent he gets, he gains some sort
Depends on how fucked up he ends up.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
How fucked up are you willing to be or feel to get this talent?
I'm just imagining at the end of it, it just turns out to be fucking Howard Hughes.
I will make you, a brilliant engineer. I will make you an incredible designer. I will give you these gifts, but the gifts come proportionate with whatever, horrible detriment that will ultimately bring you down.
Wow. God, it's scary.
Because it does feel that way, where it's like, there's a certain amount of like, the best artists that we have are all horrible people who have all these neuroses and but oh man, that artist's so good.
Yeah, if only they were able to keep that talent, but then keep, away from underage children and all that. If only we could just separate the two. It'd just like be such a great thing.
Some kind of shock collar.
The padded pulse shock collar.
Yeah, I feel like the perfect test candidate for that would be the fucking creator of Rurouni Kenshin. Who is somehow still getting like fucking convention appearances and like showed up to a fucking convention with fucking Oda and shit. I was like, how the fuck?
People really like Rurouni Kenshin, I guess.
What was his?
Yes.
What was his sin again? I'm just trying to remember.
Oh God, he was found with like child pornography on his fucking computer.
Oh really? Oh geez.
Yes. Which again is like, I do not understand how I think it like spiraled into worse shit. Hold on a sec. Let's see here. Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Got
arrested for possessing child pornography. Specifically said he liked girls in late elementary school to around the second year of middle school.
Buso Rankin, the guy who made Buso Rankin.
Yes, also Buso Rankin, the anime you enjoyed.
I did not enjoy that anime, by the way.
I thought you said it was great. You had a great fun with what was it in Mirage who made you watch it?
It was bad. It was bad at the end, okay? It was bad. It was like maybe fun in like first few episodes, but then like they end badly, and it was like they cut the budget and like the story started to make less and less sense. The main character was like completely forgettable. Like only real fun character was like the girl and like the villain. Oh, what was her name? Toriko and the butterfly guy.
Well, now you know that the Buso Rankin came from the mind of a guy who had child porn on his computer.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah, I'm just like it's like fucking Jesus Christ, Japan. What the fuck? the fuck is this man still getting work? Fuck you.
Did Oda actually go to a convention? Were they actually able to, like... I feel like Oda's so above it, he doesn't have to go to conventions.
Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. As we now wander into the really weird section of every fucking review where we go drastically off topic.
Well, that's why it's the Rambling Ranting Review Hour. I always promise the rambling and the ranting.
Let's see.
Because I was looking it up. I don't know if this is accurate, but Ichiro Oda has like an estimated net worth of $200 million.
200 million? Wow.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's not even.
Oh, I gotta catch up on one.
There we are. All right.
So many things I gotta catch up on.
March 6, 2020, One Piece manga Ichiro Oda has received a wave of backlash towards his recently announced upcoming interview with Nobuhiro God damn it, Watsuki during the Rurouni Kenshin mangaka's widely known child pornography conviction. So yeah, March 4th, Japanese news site reported that a dialogue between Mr. Kazuki and the author of One Piece, Ichiro Oda, would take place on April 24th to commemorate the opening of the 25th anniversary Rurouni Kenshin exhibition.
Interesting. So it wasn't like...
God damn it, you guys. What the fuck? Like, how hard is it to literally just not talk to the person found with child pornography on your fucking computer? Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes.
I don't know.
You know, sticks by his buddies. But that's interesting.
I fucking guess.
Gonna do a interview, but for a second though, I thought he was gonna like actually like drag him out of his like little hovel to like go to a convention. I would like lose my shit if they ever like dragged Oda to America.
Oh yeah, I don't even. What does Oda look like?
There are a few photos, but they're hard to find. But they are out there.
Where? Let me see. Oh. Wow, he does. He looks like one of his. He looks like actually one of his characters in One Piece.
Which
I
one?
feel like he would fit perfectly in a One Piece character.
Which one?
I don't. Maybe Rayleigh a little bit mixed with Shanks.
Well, it depends on what photo you. If you like the more recent, he's kind of like a little pudgier, but then there's like his like younger spirit. But
I see one where he's actually has like a goatee and like grayish hair, and glasses.
They're
he's
hard
doing
to
like
find, but they are out there. That's like the cool guy photo. But then there's like
Yeah.
the other one where he just kind of looks very pudgy. All right. Any other random thoughts before we sign off for the night, gentlemen, and go to our respective hanging outs and enjoying lunch?
I think that's it.
I gotta catch up on manga.
Yeah, you had the time for it.
Well, we were actually looking for apartments recently.
Good luck with your hunting, but motherfucker, I moved all my shit out and I managed to keep up with my manga.
Well, we're going out again tomorrow, actually, to meet up with my fiance's friend, and probably have like a picnic, and then go to Trader Joe's, pick up food, things like that. So it should be a nice, fun little adventure that takes up most of the day as well. So might not have enough time.
You also have Monday to go enjoy some good old manga, fun time.
Oh yeah, Monday is also going to be looking at the apartment again, and then also going to be playing D&D that day as well. So do D&D.
That's just a full day. Oh my god, 4 or 5 hours.
Oh yeah, we're playing this module Tom made, or sorry, that Tom was using called the Mad Mage Water Deep Undermountain Mad Mage module or something for D&D. It's been really fun.
All right, well, we'll leave you that. I will, of course, constantly be angering at you to like catch up with Dr. Stone so we can appease the Dr. Stoners. And eventually we'll cover One Piece.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to talk about the current arc, but you got to do your goddamn homework.
Yes. We're gonna catch up with manga.
You got to learn about how Kaido's all about trans rights.
Is he?
Well, go read and fucking find out.
Okay. All right.
Read the fucking manga.
Am I just memeing on you, or is there a grain of truth of what I'm saying? You're gonna have to go fucking find out.
I'm thinking of like the pleasures, and like maybe there's some connection between the pleasures and trans rights.
Well, go fucking read it. You'll be surprised. Some surprising shit happened.
Okay. All
what
right.
if we just spoiled it right here and now?
Don't do it, please. Don't do it, please. Please, no One Piece spoilers, please, ever.
Maybe you need to fucking read the manga.
All right.
Maybe Blackbeard came into Wano country and he's in right now, and you just don't know about it.
Okay. Don't even joke about spoilers, okay? Because anything can happen when it comes to Oda. Blackbeard could actually come to Wano if he really wanted to. He could actually destroy
maybe
half the continent if he wanted to.
Maybe he did. All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us in this live stream and listening to this in podcast form. Thank you for hanging out. Any last things you want to? Any final thoughts before we end?
I think we did put out that final thought.
I don't know if I did any other final thoughts. Well, thank you, and remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.